Today we have a 2008 Dodge Charger. We'll be servicing the transmission. So we're here under the vehicle, right where the transmission pan is. As you can see, oil pan right there, transmission pan, transmission's right above it. There are a total of 14 10mm bolts that hold it in place. So what we're gonna do is loosen all of them and take out the ones out here just to give it a little angle to drain out before we remove the whole pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen all of them and then take these out just to give it that angle and let it drain out. As you can see, after removing the bolts in the front here and loosening everything around, oil's coming out draining. So I'm gonna let that drain a little bit, slowly loosening all the bolts enough to where it doesn't come out, allowing it to drain. Then eventually, once it gets to an adequate level, I'm gonna go ahead and take all the bolts out and get the transmission pan off. It is attached by silicone, so you possibly will need to pry it a little bit. But in the meantime, let's get this drain, and then we'll worry about that once this is done. So I slightly just pried the side of it a little more just to help it quickly drain, like so. So I'm just gonna let that do it a little further, pry this side up a little bit just to let it drain a little more, and then we're gonna go ahead and just drop the whole pan. I have the pan removed, so now a few things we're gonna do. Using a T25 right here, holding the retaining screw for the oil, the transmission filter. We're gonna go ahead and remove that, let the oil drain out and replace this. We're also gonna go ahead and clean the surface around here so that when we set the oil pan back on, we're gonna put new silicone so it sits correctly. And we're also gonna go ahead and clean the pan itself, cleaning off all the silicone around it, as well as clean the magnet off to make sure no metal shavings are left over. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off the filter and then clean everything up. So now that I have the surface cleaned and I've removed the transmission filter, be sure to make sure that the O-ring that's right here, the transmission filter, also is removed as well. It seems as this one has already been deteriorated, so we're gonna go ahead and install our new one and set our two T25 torque screws down, retaining this in place, and torquing those down to 5 Newton meters or 3.6 pounds. I'm just gonna do 4 pounds since I can't get that exact, with a little slack, of course, just so I don't over tighten it. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this. Then I'm going to go ahead and also prepare my gasket. The kit I have came with a gasket compared to just the silicone it originally would come with, or the silicone you would originally have to place in order to have a good seal. So what I'm gonna do is put some adhesive around here and place this gasket on top and let it sit flush with something heavy on top to keep it stable, to keep it even, so it has an even groove around it. Then we will install it into the transmission. So I'm gonna go ahead and install this first and we'll get to the next step. So I've placed pretty much a bead, a line, a streak of gasket adhesive all the way around. Now I'm gonna place my gasket in the correct orientation, flattening it out as much as I can, then flipping it over on a hard surface that is leveled with a heavy object on top to keep it flush. So right now, you see if the gasket adhesive is there, I'm gonna go ahead and place the gasket on top and prepare to have something flush, or something heavy to sit on top so it stays flush for about 15 minutes. After I place the gasket adhesive down and my gasket on top, I now have kind of like an even flush look with the gasket. It's all in pretty much in the location it should be with the holes for the bolts exposed. So now I'm just gonna take it over here, let it sit flat flush, and I'm gonna place something heavy like a rotor that we have sitting around on top and let it sit for a moment. It now sits flushed on the pan. Went ahead and put a layer of shellac around it as well. So now we're gonna go ahead and set this on our transmission and then set the bolts in place before we torque it down. So I've got all my bolts set into place. Now I'm gonna torque it down to 20 Newton meters or 14.75 foot-pounds. After that, we'll be done at the bottom. We just bring her down and fill her up. So now that the transmission pan is complete, we're gonna go ahead and put 4 quarts of transmission fluid in here. The Mopar ATF4 for this car specifically. So once you do that, just start it up, shift the gears, check the fluid, and you're good to go. So thanks for watching, y'all. Please like and subscribe. More videos to come.